Welcome, my name's Daniel. I'm the founder of Tri-D Printing. Today we're going to go through and build a Airtripper extruder with a Bowden extrusion system. In this case, let me first introduce to you what you'll need and what's included in the kit. The first part of the kit, of course, is the plastic parts for the Airtripper. That includes the body, the idler, the axle, and the arm. In this case, we've already tapped out the hole for a push fitting that actually captures the Teflon tubing in it. If you don't have that, what you can do is use an M4 die to spin this on and put in a thread on the outside of this, and then you'd use an M4 nut on top of it. But in our case, we actually put in or pre-tapped it here so that this fitting just screws in beautifully and you'll be on your way. We really suggest doing this. If you get one that's not already pre-tapped, what you need to do is drill out the hole with something like a 4.2 millimeter drill, and then use a tap and just put in the threads by twisting this and back twisting to do that. So to continue on with the parts list here, we have a stepper motor, a drive gear, six screws, one 6mm socket cap, three 30mm socket caps, and two 45mm socket caps. Again, we have a choice. We're going to use a couple of springs for the spring loading of the idler gear. You can also use a 6mm inside diameter piece of hose. We also need three 3mm nuts and three 3mm washers. In addition, we'll have a 608 bearing and an MR 105 bearing. And then for tools, you'll want to have a 3mm drill just to bore out the holes that you'll be putting the screws in. Sometimes when it's plastic parts, they just don't quite fit. You also may want a 5.5mm one to bore out the spots where the heads will countersink. In this case, that's this spot here, and the two spots on the arm. And finally, one spot here countersinks just a little bit where the 6mm screw starts. So if that has it covered for what you need, let's actually get started building this up. I'm Daniel, we're back. Actually, let's build this up. The first thing we want to do is take the drive gear and use a 1.5mm Allen wrench to set the set screw on the flat part. And at the moment, we'll just set it fairly loosely. Once we've done that, what we'd like to do is put on the MR 105 bearing over the axle and have that so it's pretty much flush there. Now that we've got that done, what we'll do is actually mount the Airtripper body, and we'll start with this 6mm screw. And for the first couple screws, or for the first 3 screws, we don't want to actually put them on tight until we've got all 4 screws threaded on into the motor. So here I've got that just loosely on in this corner right here. Next I'll take another 30mm screw and put that in, and again we're just leaving it loosely. Next, these two here go on the motor. One of them will go straight on, and it has nothing additional, and it goes in this long socket spot here, and we'll just put that in loosely. And the last one is a little bit tricky. We actually want to roll a nut on fairly far because this part will be exposed in order to be a lever for this idler gear. So, oops, and even I got that wrong. This needs to go through the arm first, then we need to put a nut on, and put it on reasonably deeply. And then we put one washer on, And now we thread that whole combination into the motor. So once we have that threaded into the motor, it's time to go back and tighten up the rest of the screws in this, leaving this one exposed screw till the end. So we'll get these other three all tight. And now what we want to do is tighten this screw only until it's even with the other end of the arm. You can tighten it too far and then that arm curves in, and we just don't want that. Once we have that even, what we'll do is bring that nut that we put on down and tighten it on via the nut, or tighten it down with the nut. You really want to go rather tight on these screws. This extruder will take a significant beating over the months and years that you're using your printer. And if you put it on tight now, everything will stay nice and solid and quiet. If you don't put it on as tight, things have a tendency to work a little loose. So, okay, so everything's nice and tight. Now what we want to work on is to take this axle, put it through the 608 bearing, and squeeze that into the idler. And next we'll take these two screws, put the springs on, then we'll put on some washers, and finally what we'll do is push them into position here on the idler body. We want to then take some nuts, and we don't need washers on these nuts because the nuts will get captured in behind or in this plastic section here. But we just want to turn those on a little bit until they capture each of the nuts. And that looks good on the first one. I find it works fairly well to just put my finger against it. There, now if you look carefully you can see the nuts are both threaded, and we'll just pull them into position. Now we take this idler gear, the arm here slips around the exposed screw, and the other side actually flips in behind these two slots with the springs, and then snaps down. And there's one. You want to make sure to get the washer on that too. There's the other. So there those are. Now you can take this and adjust it for the spring tension that you'd like. The advantage to these springs is they're pretty good, but they give you enough play that you can pull this idler back and squeeze the filament up through. The last stage, and compared to how difficult it's been with other designs, we just stick on one of these push fit fittings until it's nice and tight, and that's it. The push fit fittings work really slick because you just push those in, and now they hold on to the Bowden Teflon tube quite stoutly. So great, that's what you need to put your Airtripper extruder with a Bowden system on or together, and have a great day. Thanks for watching.